On October 29th, 2019, copies of André Aciman's Find Me hit bookstore shelves and were passed from delivery drivers to purchasers for the first time. Find Me is Aciman's follow-up to his acclaimed and beloved first novel, Call Me By Your Name. From the time that word came out that Aciman was writing Find Me, the hopes and dreams of many thousands of fans were wrapped up in whether a happy ending might finally be in store for Elio and Oliver. That book launch was now months ago, so all the most ardent fans have now read the book already and can't really complain if I get into spoilers in this video. But if you have not read Find Me, you may very likely not want to continue watching this video, as I am going to go past the point where other reviewers have stopped. There will be spoilers here. This video is for musing about what could be coming up for Luca Guadagnino's follow-up film based on full knowledge of André Aciman's follow-up novel. Stop watching this video if you do not want to learn what happens before you've read Find Me. With that warning now clearly made, let's start by going through the timeline in Call Me By Your Name, the novel, and how Find Me's timeline fits into it. Call Me By Your Name, the novel, is divided into 4 parts: If Not Later When, Monet's Sperm, the San Clemente Syndrome, and Ghost Spots. The first 3 all take place within 6 weeks, supposedly during a late 1980s summer. Wikipedia says the year is about 1987. I say it's 1986, and we'll gradually see why. The 4th part, Ghost Spots, carries on at the end of that summer too, starting with Elio's sit-down with his father after arriving home from his trip to Rome with Oliver. It then jumps to Christmas time that year when Oliver returns to Italy and announces that he's engaged. If you've only seen the movie and have not read the book, you'll be thinking, that's a big change. Well, it's not the only one between the book and the movie. The next part of Ghost Spots then makes quick work of the next decade, recounting the fact of Oliver's wedding the following summer, and then Vimine's death a year after that. 9 years later again, therefore now in 1997, Elio gets a call while studying in the States when Oliver and his family visit Elio's parents at the house in Liguria. Find Me starts on a November day about 2 years after that, so likely in 1999, with a chapter called Tempo. And in it, Elio's father, Sammy, who has now been divorced from Anella for a short while, meets Miranda while he's on a train on the way to Rome to visit Elio, who has now graduated from university and has begun his career as a concert pianist. Sammy and Miranda connect and start a relationship. Find Me's next chapter, Cadenza, takes place over 3 weeks in November of the next year. We catch up with Elio in Paris, where music has thrown him into a relationship with Michelle. Their affair, in turn, influences Elio to meet up with Oliver after Elio completes a concert tour of North America the following year. Ghost Spots picks up again in the New Hampshire town where Oliver is a university professor. Elio meets him at the school, and they have a couple of drinks together, catching up and reminiscing. In both Cadenza and this part of Ghost Spots, which take place 10 or 12 months apart, Elio declares it's now 15 years after the eventful summer in Italy. I say that when Elio told Michelle it had been 15 years since the summer with the marriage canard, that just meant it was now more than 14 years. And when he told Oliver the next September or October that it had been 15 years, he was just leaving off the extra 2 or 3 months that had also now elapsed. That now makes it fall 2001 in New England. In Find Me's next chapter, Capriccio, just over 4 years later, in November of what would be 2005, Oliver is facing a change in his life, having completed a sabbatical year in New York City and preparing to return to the university in New Hampshire to teach again. Oliver considers if this is really what he wants to do. Throwing a party for his New York City colleagues before he leaves, and having been captivated by a couple of them, Oliver questions if he should continue with his wife, or if his interest in his colleagues has in fact just been an eruption of feeling reflecting his long repressed love for Elio. The following summer, Call Me By Your Name's Ghost Spots kicks into gear again as Oliver visits Elio in Liguria a short while after Sammy Perlman's unexpected death, now 20 years after their fateful summer. In the book, Elio describes this meeting as having happened last summer. As the book was published in February 2007, that can be assumed to have been the summer of 2006. His visit with Elio, coming to a close at the end of Call Me By Your Name, the novel, Oliver is at his is it better to speak or to die moment as far as Elio is concerned. But the book ends leaving us all wondering whether Oliver did speak or not. Elio silently implores him to look me in the face, hold my gaze, and call me by your name. So what did happen? Spoiler alert, really turn off now if you don't want to hear what's next. We readers know that André Aciman's sequel does answer the question as to whether Oliver was ready to return to his lost love in a fourth, last, short chapter called Da Capo. Reviewers have been good at avoiding spoiling what happens here, and even at letting on that there is a fourth chapter. Da Capo does lay out a new equilibrium settling into place a few months after Oliver's post-funeral visit, and does set the stage for a future where Elio and Oliver and others can live out a life that's been on hold for years. Not quite a riding off into the sunset moment, the reunited lovers and those close to them have a path laid out that holds the promise for a fulfilling future. So that's the situation with Elio and Oliver's story as per the new novel. Find Me's parts fit into the gaps within the 20-year denouement of Call Me By Your Name and extend the story, bringing it to a promising resolution, albeit a slightly bittersweet one that recognizes that nothing will ever be quite the same. With Find Me's first part occurring over a decade after Elio and Oliver's summer, and with it mostly concerning Sammy and Miranda, does that mean a follow-up film is now many years off, waiting for Timothée Chalamet to catch up in age where he can convincingly play someone 13, 14, 15, or 20 years older? Not necessarily. Following Call Me By Your Name's premiere at the Sundance Film Festival in January 2017, and continuing on pretty much ever since, Guadagnino has been peppered with questions about the possibility of a sequel. His answers have changed over time, and were the most fleshed out in early 2018 when he cited two film cycles: Richard Linklater's Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, and Before Midnight trilogy, and François Truffaut's 4 features and a short that make up The Adventures of Antoine Doinel. Both film cycles follow the main characters as they age over many years, and Guadagnino sees Elio and Oliver as suitable for a similar treatment because of the unfilmed 20-year continuance in the novels. Early on, Guadagnino mused that he'd like to make a second film during 2020, when Timothée Chalamet would be 24 years old, the same age as movie Elio would be in 1990. While Aciman's novels concern matters of the heart, mind, and libido, they are pretty much devoid of political and social context. Guadagnino loves social context and shifted Call Me By Your Name to 1983 to set the story before HIV/AIDS was a massive issue, so that its non-appearance in the film makes sense. The changing Italian political and social scenes of 1983 also appealed to him. In turn, Guadagnino said he wanted to tackle HIV/AIDS in the next film and dive into the social and political upheaval of the era when the Berlin Wall came down and the East was opening up. In terms of Elio's growth, at the Los Angeles Film Critics Circle Awards Gala in early 2018, Guadagnino told The Hollywood Reporter, "I think Elio will be a cinephile, and I'd like him to be in a movie theater watching Paul Vecchiali's Once More, a 1988 release about a man who falls for another man after he leaves his wife, that was the first French film to deal with AIDS. That," said Guadagnino, "could be the first scene of the sequel." He also indicated that he didn't think Elio was finished with his exploration of sexuality and that there was probably more to come between Elio and Marzia. Aciman did not detail Elio's university years in Find Me. Elio simply tells Michelle that there had been a relationship with a girl, which can be read as having been with Marzia. "We were friends, then we were lovers, then she split. But we stayed friends." Can we assume that in the sequel, while Elio and Marzia are well enough suited for each other in many ways, that it takes Elio a long time to accept that they are not fated to be together forever? Guadagnino also indicated that he'd like a married Oliver to be part of the sequel, and that his pick to play Oliver's wife is Dakota Johnson. Armie Hammer, who had initially said he'd be all in for a new film, dampened expectations in March 2019, saying, "Felt like a really perfect storm of so many things that if we do make a second one, I think we're setting ourselves up for disappointment. I don't know that anything will match up to the first. I'm like, that was such a special thing. Why don't we just leave it alone?" 9 months later, though, in December, and following the release of Find Me, Guadagnino told a reporter at the Marrakesh International Film Festival that the next film would follow the books only loosely. That's the last that has been said publicly about a sequel that I am aware of. Luca has said that he won't do a new film without André's blessing. André has said that he understands that the books and the movies are different things, and that he's totally good with what they did with the first film. So we're now in early March 2020, and no official announcement has been made. Timothée Chalamet's 2020 schedule includes a play at the Old Vic in London through April and May, and is playing Bob Dylan for James Mangold in what's currently dubbed Going Electric. It will presumably film during the summer. Luca has the Sky Atlantic and HBO series We Are Who We Are to wrap up, and is coincidentally in pre-production on a Bob Dylan album-inspired film, Blood on the Tracks. Armie Hammer is starring in The Minutes on Broadway from March through June, and has just been attached to a series about the Watergate scandal called Gaslit. I haven't found a filming schedule for it, But while they are all busy people, it looks like filming of a Call Me By Your Name sequel could still happen if a script is ready near the end of this year or in 2021. And Chalamet would still be close enough to the age that Guadagnino sees for the next installment in Elio's story. It will be interesting to see what transpires in the coming months.